MVP.
Hits one in the air, left center field, back it goes. Harper, the swing of his life.
You never get ahead of yourself. As Barrett's down the field,
I know rent to do every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that rent's due, I don't plan on missing no payments. So.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3 in the Keystone, episode 71, an Old City Sports Network podcast. I'm Adam Seltzer alongside Al Ryan. Chris Guest is still on paternity leave. Al, what do you think he's doing right at this moment?
Dude, I don't know. I'm just wondering who his HR person is that got him all this leave. Is this paid leave?
I think he's back to work today, is he not?
What about from the show?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We need an HR department, I think.
Well, apparently we do, because this dude's been off now for 3 weeks.
The fact that we've gone 71 shows without any sort of public issue is a miracle, I would say.
This isn't Canada. We're in the States, man. This is tough sledding down here.
Yeah, we're going to have to maybe give him his walking papers soon and bring on some new folks. But we got a ton to talk about tonight. Like I said, episode 71, we will dedicate it to the one and only Jason Peters, who was as hell of good of lineman as he was, probably more known for laying on the field in every single game at some point in time, again, getting helped on. So shout out JP, number 71. Al, like I said, we're going to talk birds tonight, but we got to at least touch on, before we jump into it, the Tyrese Maxey 50-piece last night. We're going to get into that a little more later, but how about that?
I'm in love. I'm in love all over again, dude. This team pulled me right back in. Tyrese Maxey pulled me right back in. I'm so hyped still, man. Love it.
Can't wait to get into our Sixers. But before we do that, Al, I want to talk a little bit about Fanatics in segment 1. Click the link in the description. I'm not going to read it to you because it's got a lot of numbers and letters in it, but it's linked in our Twitter profile, as well as the if you look into the subtext of this podcast, you will find it. Go on Fanatics and get all of your sports apparel needs. Al mentioned he's in love. Tyrese Maxey is the jersey to wear right now. Go out, get it, go down to the game. The Sixers are fun to watch again now that James Harden is gone. Shop on Fanatics for any of your jersey needs. Again, follow the link on our website there, and it'll lead you to any sort of discount codes that are available as well.
So Jackson already has the blue Maxi, the blue home Maxi. I just ordered him the Spectrum alternate Maxi, and I just ordered him the new one, the new Reading Terminal Maxi. Now we'll say that I got them from Fanatics.
Bootleg one from China coming in.
Hey, let's talk about our first segment.
Hey, we got Tom McGuire in the chat. What's up, fellas? Maxey embodies the Sixer spirit. Another one from Chandler, my unspoken trade idea. Sixers go after Hemi Butler to form a Philly Big Three. Gents, we got a lot of Sixers talk coming up. But before we get into that for segment 1, we got a special guest. It's a guy we've been ducking since the Super Bowl, trying to avoid him at all costs, but he's finally caught up with us. We got Cris Style from the Arrowhead Chiefs podcast in Kansas City. He's coming on. He's been bugging us and rubbing in our face what happened in the Super Bowl, as well as Al, you just popped on twice there. Chris, what's going on, my man?
How you doing, fellas, man? Nah, I ain't ducking you. I mean, I ain't been chasing you guys, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just,
You've been a good sport.
I'm a humble guy, man. I'm a humble guy, man. I'm gonna rub it in people's faces.
I'm gonna give you 2 sentences if you want to say something about the Super Bowl, because then we're going to move on to next week's game in preparation.
As far as the Super Bowl goes, man, it was just a crazy game, man. First half, you guys dominated pretty much. I think the one play that you guys could look back on is probably the Jalen Hurts fumble that kind of hurt you guys. Yep. Of course, the talk of the game is the holding penalty, and I get it. You know what I'm saying? referees have been pretty lenient as far as the calls go. So to let that, to do that call right then in that spot, it wasn't, it was kind of crazy for them to do that. Do I think it was a hold? Yeah, but do you call it at that spot? No, you probably shouldn't. So, but ultimately, it came down to, the last minute, and Mahomes pulled it out at the end with that run. I think that run was big, that got us to win, and we were Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, we Eagles got no stops in the second half, and it would have been nice to get at least a chance with the ball back to make something happen. But listen, you guys deserved it. You guys played great, and like I said, when it mattered most, that offense really got moving, and the Eagles couldn't really do anything about it at the end of the day.
Yeah. But here we are, Monday.
New year.
We're back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next Monday will be Eagles and Chiefs, the Super Bowl rematch. Chris, here's my first question for you, because I mentioned this last week on the pod, and we've been talking about the Eagles. I don't know how closely. Obviously, you're a football guy, but I'm not sure how closely you follow the Eagles. But I made a comparison to the Chiefs when I said, you look down at the record as a fan, and the Eagles are obviously have one loss. The Chiefs do have 2 losses. And you're like, man, we're in a really good spot. But something just doesn't feel right. Is that the vibe in Kansas City, or are you guys happy with the way the season's going so far?
Well, as far as I go, I grew up in the 90s when the Chiefs had defense, and, we was running the football, and, the quarterback play was okay. But, I came from, the Chiefs was always known for having a pretty good defense. And this is the story this year. We've become a defensive team this year. Our defense is top, at least top 3 in points and, yards and stuff like that. But offensively, when you're used to something, and then something changes up, Chiefs Kingdom is not used to having even though we're still top 10 in a lot of the categories when it comes to offense, it doesn't look like it's top 10. We have a lot of young receivers. When we got rid of Juju in the offseason, they wanted Kadarius Toney to be the number 1 guy. Well, the first day of training camp, he gets hurt.
No surprise.
That's the story of Kadarius Toney right there. He gets hurt, and then they're doing this, and they're looking good. Sky Moore was supposed to take a step forward in the second year. We drafted this kid from SMU, Rashee Rice. We're banking on Travis Kelce still being Travis, and for the most part, Travis has been Travis. But we have a lot of young receivers, man, and you can tell Pat doesn't really trust those guys. He forces a lot of stuff to Travis Kelce. When all else fails, triple coverage, I'm going to throw it to Travis Kelce. Guys can be open. Sky Moore's been open a few times. Rashee Rice has been open a few times. MVS and Justin Watson, some of those guys have been open, but for whatever reason, Mahomes just he doesn't have that trust factor with some of these guys, and so he'll go to what he knows, and that's Travis Kelce, and it's got him in trouble a few times this year. He's turned the ball over at a bigger rate this year. So even though we're winning and we're looking good, and this bye week, we won again with the Ravens losing and Cincinnati losing, and we're still number 1 in the conference. If the playoffs were to start today, we'd be the number 1 seed. But we do at Chiefs Kingdom, the biggest thing is we are still griping about this offense. So we just want to see consistency. That's all we want to see.
So it's not just us, Adam. It's not just Philly fans that are complaining about their first place team.
Listen, what happens is you set a standard that is X, and when it doesn't reach that standard, you wonder why. And like you said, Chris, at the end of the day, you're a different guy. You're, like you say, from the 90s. But the casual fan wants to see points. They don't want to see you win 21-14 over Miami. They want that 35-31 game that's going to entertain them, and the up and down and the Patrick Mahomes that they're used to. And listen, I mean, we're in Philadelphia. We've experienced some really the ups and downs of this season, despite only having 1 loss. The reaction, you would think we're more like a 5-4 team.
Yeah, exactly. That's how the fan base is with the Chiefs. Is like you get inside some of these spaces on Twitter, man, and it's doom and gloom. The sky is falling, and it's like, we're 8-2, 7-2, guys. Like we're number 1 in the conference. Like it's a good problem to have when you're winning. You know what I'm saying? You still trying to work on yourself, and hopefully after this bye week. I mean, I know we're facing you guys. I know you guys don't want this, but after the bye week, we're hoping that, Andy Reid gets in the lab, sees what works. Because the problem is we got too many cooks in the rotation when it comes to the wide receivers. Get down to just these 3 to 4 receivers and make it work. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just make it work. And then Travis Kelce, of course, we work off of him. He's the number one weapon in the offense. But off of that, give more touches to Rashee Rice and fix Sky more, get him more involved, and hopefully this after this bye week, this could get fixed.
You mentioned the defense. They're second, I think, in the NFL as far as yards and fourth for points or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I know when we talked in the Super Bowl, there was a lot of young guys in the secondary that had really stepped up. What do you attribute this surge in the defense? Because granted, it was a better unit than people thought last year, but it wasn't an elite level defense like it is this year.
Well, going back to last year, our GM Brett Veach, he's always been good at finding those late gems in the late rounds, the 4th, the 6th, the 7th round. And, Joshua Williams, who was a 4th round pick, Jalen Watson, who was a 7th round pick. Those guys are our 3rd and 4th corner. But the resurgence of Trent McDuffie, we drafted in the 1st round, and Veach has never drafted a 1st round corner at all. So when he drafted him, we knew he had to be somewhat special for him to get drafted in the 1st round and be our first pick. And he has not disappointed whatsoever. He has been great for us. Him, L'Jarius Sneed have, done real well, taking on number one and 2 wide receivers. If you look at some of the numbers and some of the number one, only person that probably had a very good day against us was St. Armand Brown. He was the only one. Everybody else, we held Justin Jefferson to 3 catches, 28 yards. We held Calvin Ridley 2 catches, like 20 yards. Like, they've been doing that all year. This secondary has been good. And then this defensive line has been really good too. Guys like Mike Dana, guys like George Karlaftis taking that step forward. He has like 6.5 sacks. Of course, Chris Jones being Chris Jones. And then our linebacking crew, Willie Gay. We lost Nick Bolton. He should be back in December. Drew Tranquil coming over from the Chargers has been a blessing to us. And the 2nd year of Leo Chanel. We have a very young defense, but these guys this year, they're moving faster. They don't have to think like last year. They had to think a lot more and be in the right spot. This year they don't have to think as much. They're just moving around, running around, flying around. And this defense has been a big surprise coming into the season. We thought, okay, maybe top 15. We never thought like top 5 defense. So
Cris, that was a lot of positives, and rightfully so. So if you're Nick Sirianni and you're Brian Johnson, our offensive coordinator, what should we be looking to attack on Monday night?
With the loss of Nick Bolton, run the football. You have to run. We're still we have a little issue with running the ball, going against running backs. When you got the one thing, if you watch the Dolphins game in the first half, why they couldn't get no points on the board is because we made them one-dimensional. We were stopping the run. Mostert wasn't getting our big runs. Jeff Wilson wasn't getting our big runs. But in the second half, they started getting our big runs, and they almost came back and tied the game up. That's what you guys have to do. You got to be committed to the run, play action pass, use Jalen Hurts in them legs, because running quarterbacks kind of give us problems too. Run the football and be committed to running the football and keeping Patrick Mahomes on the sideline at the same time.
Which is something we really haven't been, the first few weeks we were committed to the run. We pounded the ball, especially late in games when we got leads. But the last few weeks they've been a little bit pass happy, I would say. Al, would you agree?
Yeah, I was just going to say that was probably the last answer I wanted to hear, maybe other than like feeding the tight end with Goddard hurt at this point. So to hear that, maybe this is the reset that we needed as far as a team to get DeAndre Swift back to the form that he was in the first 4 games. But that was not the answer I wanted to hear, Chris.
Yeah, that's definitely what you guys have to do is run the football. If you guys at least be balanced. That's what you guys don't be one-dimensional, but attack. Yeah, like I said, attack us with the run and then pass off of that.
Gotcha. So I mentioned kind of where we were as far as being skeptical. What's the outside perception of the Eagles in the year that they've had so far? I don't know if you guys are hearing. Obviously, you're AFC, we're NFC, but what's the buzz on the Eagles' performance so far this year?
Well, I mean, we are. If you watch football, you know that you guys are not, at 110%, all shooting at all cylinders right now, especially on offense. I think defensively, you guys are pretty good, but offensively, I think you guys are not shooting at all cylinders. But you guys win when y'all need to win, and y'all still are winning. And we still look at y'all as probably if not the number one team, at least the top three, one of the top three teams in the league right now. So we definitely have respect for the Eagles. We know what the Eagles represent.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a blessing to play in the NFC this year. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
There's legitimately, if the final four in the NFC is not Dallas, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Detroit, I would say something went extremely wrong because I think the other three teams in this that are going to make the playoffs are not even close to them. But yeah, like I said, it's been a weird year, especially coming off a Super Bowl season with expectations being so high. And, there was a couple changes that happened internally that I think have affected this team a little more than they wanted to let on. But we'll see. Again, it's just a matter of they're winning football games, so it's hard to complain even if you really want to.
Right. What are your guys' perception on y'all on Dallas?
I'm not scared of Dallas one bit. I don't know. You a basketball guy at all or no?
Not really, but I follow it. I mean, I know what's going on.
Okay, so we're big Sixers fans. You heard us talking about Tyrese
Right.
Maxey before. We compare the Sixers to the Cowboys all the time. In the biggest moments, the Cowboys going to let you down all the time. And we talked about it. Obviously, we played them right before the bye. And to be fair with you, Chris, they probably outplayed the Eagles in that game. They outgained them.
I almost messed up my ticket. I was sweating when they was at the 5. I was like, oh no.
Didn't want to do that. But like at the end of the game, just the little things. Dak steps out of bounds on the 2-point conversion. The 1 4th down play early in the fourth quarter, the guy gets stopped on the half-yard line. Those type of things just always seem to happen to them. And at the end of the day, that's part of your DNA. And I'm not saying a Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes doesn't step out of bounds because maybe they do, but it doesn't seem to happen over and over and over again in the biggest moments. There's a clutch gene that I don't think that team has. And despite all the talent, because they are extremely, extremely talented, I just don't think they have the guts or like I said, the wherewithal to win that big game. I mean, we've seen San Francisco punk them time after time after time. And the Eagles have kind of done the same thing with them. And it's strange because that team is so, so talented. And for them not to be able to get over the hump, there's something wrong there.
Yeah, for sure. What are you guys' thoughts on the Lions?
I think they're a year away. I think that they are lacking the experience as a team, as a franchise, as an organization, as a coaching staff. I just think that there's too many hurdles in the way, especially if they aren't able to leapfrog Philly for that number 1 seed and clinch home field throughout. That's going to be a tough matchup, having to potentially go to the Link in January for a playoff game in their first run of the playoffs in over a decade or whatever, however long it's been. But we talked about them last week. I respect the hell out of them. They're doing it on both sides of the football. Amon-Ra St. Brown's a stud. Jared Goff looks like a brand new guy up in the Motor City. So they got players, man. Jahmyr Gibbs all of a sudden looks like
they finally unlocked that kid.
Absolutely. So no, they're a team that I wouldn't say scares, and I wouldn't even say worries, but I respect them.
Right.
I respect them.
Yeah.
And I would add this, and this is what's crazy about the NFL and the most unsexy way possible is how important offensive lines are. And if you looked at the rankings before the season, a lot of people had the Eagles as the best offensive line in football, but a lot of people had the Lions as the second best offensive line in football. And you had a guy like Jared Goff, who by all accounts was written off in LA, or at that point, I guess they were in LA at that time. If he goes somewhere else, I don't know if his career takes off the way it does. He's in a perfect situation. He plays half his games inside. Plays, that's huge for him. Plays behind a really good offensive line, and he just landed in a perfect position. I'm really curious. I think he's a free agent at the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. I think
I'm curious to see what he gets. I would like. Is he getting?
I don't think he gets more than Burrow.
No.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
was
he gets
talking
more
probably
than him.
Kyler Murray money.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see Kyler Murray.
Boy, oh boy. Imagine
I can
having
see
this
it.
conversation 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I know, right? You would have said he was crazy.
I mean, Daniel Jones set the market for shit quarterbacks, so it's more
Yeah.
than that.
The Giants, not to get off subject, but the Giants were stupid. They should have waited a year, saw what they got in Daniel Jones, and then went from there. You know what I'm saying? Like they
Terrible.
pigeonholed themselves with giving him a deal, and because he had a decent season. Like, nah, I
He
got to
wasn't
see
even
it
that good
again.
of a season. They had a good season. He was all right.
Yeah, he was okay, but it's just like I got to see it again. And
We, are,
you
we,
saw what
aren't,
happened.
we aren't upset that they're in our division. That's for sure. I'm sure you feel the same way about the Raiders.
I don't know. The Raiders look good right now.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Don't do that.
The Raiders, they got a little resurgence right now.
Let me ask you this, because you asked us about Dallas and Detroit. Who are the teams that fear you the most out of the AFC?
I'm not going to say fear, but I respect them. The Ravens. I'm always going to respect the Ravens. John Harbaugh always has that team right there in the thick of things. And their problem been injuries. Lamar Jackson's been hurt the last few years. Mark Andrews gets hurt. Like, they always have untimely injuries. So the Ravens. Cincinnati, I'm always going to give them respect because when they're firing on all cylinders, they're tough out. You know, that receiving core is probably the best in the league right now. Their problem is their offensive line is always bad. So that's why I never truly fear them. Yeah, they got us a few times, but it's just like now I don't fear them. I think that's the only team really that Ravens is really the only team that I really look at and I say, okay, those guys could be a problem.
You ain't got to worry about the Ravens. I promise you that.
I don't know. Like, we'll see. Like, their defense is really good. Their defense is really good.
Defense is good. I don't trust playoff Lamar.
Yeah, I got to see it. I do have to see it in the playoffs.
I'd rather have to play a Baltimore in the conference than a San Fran.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah.
What do you think about Miami? You just saw them. That's my team, man. I think they're good. I don't know if they're ready to beat you guys, but I was very bullish on them in the preseason. I got a lot of shit for it on this podcast.
Yeah, Adam wants to move to Florida. He secretly loves the Dolphins and the Orlando Magic. He's trying to take this pod south.
Chris, Al bet me $50 that the Jets would have more wins than the Dolphins. So
no, see, that was Zach Wilson, the quarterback.
No, this was obviously before that, Chris.
I know it's where Aaron Rodgers is in there. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I would agree with you if they had Aaron Rodgers still.
A little credit.
But the Dolphins, look, they're explosive. When they're on, they're a scary team. That's a track team right there. I think they're missing Atron, their running back, the rookie. I think he makes that offense really go. I like Mostert, but he's not Atron. But the thing about the Dolphins is their finesse. If you beat them up at the line of scrimmage, they're not the same. And that's what we did. Our corners, bump it. If we get a penalty, we get a penalty. You grab, you hold, you push, you slap Tyreek Hill at the line of scrimmage and mess up his timing. And that's what you do with Waddle, too. Those are not big receivers. They're small guys. So you beat them up at the line of scrimmage, and you make Tua hold the ball longer than he wants to because Tua gets the ball out so fast. And that's what makes that offense go is they get the ball out so fast. But if you make him hold that football, they're not the same. That's why they haven't beat 500,
and if anybody knows how to shut down Tyreek Hill, it's got to be you guys.
Yeah. And that was another thing is that, L'Jarius Sneed faced Tyreek Hill in practice for 2-3 years. So they got tape on him in practice, and I know it's practice, but everybody knows that Tyreek Hill never went half speed in practice. It was full go in practice. So those guys went at it all the time. And if anybody knows how to defend Tyreek Hill is Spags. So
So let me ask you this, and just sticking to the topic of wide receivers, just going back to the game on Monday. AJ Brown or Devontae Smith, which one of those guys do you think needs to be the one to kind of step up?
Who needs to step up?
Yeah. Maybe
it's
the first one that can hurt you more.
AJ Brown is definitely the one that scares me the most. But Devontae Smith definitely has to, put up some numbers and be that other guy to hurt us on the other end because, like I said, our secondary has been playing very well. So this is going to be definitely a challenge. I'm not looking at this like, we got this in the bag. No. Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, our safeties, they all got to be on point, because if not, A.J. Brown can kill us over the top. Devontae Smith can kill us over the top. You guys have a potent now. Goddard being out, that's, definitely, I don't wish him being hurt, but, that's definitely, something that we don't have to look at, going into the game, because, our safeties haven't been too good against, decent tight ends this year. But, your two receivers, definitely two receivers that we fear going into this game.
We got a comment in the chat, Chris, too, saying that our third guy, Olamide Zaccheaus, needs to step up. And I got news, Tom McGuire. If we're waiting for Olamide Zaccheaus to make a move Monday night, it's probably not looking good for the green. Maybe Julio Jones, though.
It was 5 years ago, then I'd be like, yeah, sure. Now, has he shown anything? Like,
he has a touchdown pass or a touchdown grab a couple weeks ago. But I mean, look, you're right. With Goddard being down, that's a big hole that we have to fill somehow. So the week off helps, obviously, because you get an extra week game plan without Dallas in the lineup. So we'll see what they come up with.
But yeah, definitely Devontae Freeman. If Freeman and AJ Brown is getting off, then yeah, it's gonna be a long game for us.
Yeah.
Smith. That's what I mean, Smith. Now, if AJ Brown is not getting off and it's just Smith getting off, then I take that. I will take Smith getting off and AJ Brown not.
Yeah. All right. Well, Adam, what do you got? Because I was out that couple of minutes, so I'm not sure what you've been through already here.
Listen, we've made it 26 minutes in this segment. We haven't talked about Taylor Swift yet.
No, here we go.
Come on, I knew Chris was going to come in and at least want to talk about the Swifties.
Here we go. Oh, so you got my
headphones coming on. Travis is in Argentina.
Swifties got my headphones coming on.
Well, the question is, what's playing on those headphones right now? Is it the sound of our voices, or is it the sound of Taylor Swift?
It's you guys. It's definitely you guys.
I think Travis may be planning a wedding soon if things keeps going.
If he's smart, he's planning a wedding soon. Pop out some kids out of them real quick too before it's over.
How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how tired of the Taylor Swift stuff are you at this point?
I wouldn't say I'm tired of it. It comes with the territory. He's dating the biggest pop artist in the world. Like, that's gonna happen. Like, she comes to the games, they're gonna highlight it. He's out with her, they're gonna highlight it. This is a new world for him. This is normal to her. This is what she do. Like, and it just happens to be the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, if she was dating somebody from Dallas, would this be really a big deal? I don't think so. If she was dating somebody from one of the bigger markets in LA, it would be. Yeah, I guess so.
And Carrie Underwood was not anywhere near Taylor Swift.
You're right, but still, it's just we're a small market, so of course, it's going to be a way bigger deal. But it doesn't bother me. As long as he is out there performing, and for the most part, he's performed when she's there. So hey, keep her coming to the games.
Now, Chris, you're on record as calling Brittany Mahomes the Queen of Kansas City. Is her crown in jeopardy?
Nah, I doubt it. As long as Patrick Mahomes is still winning the Super Bowls, I don't think her crown is up for grabs. But hey, if anybody's winning out of this, it's her. She's got a new best friend. They got a handshake and everything.
Maybe not anymore though. There's controversy.
Oh, because she wore some Skims or whatever.
Yeah, she's a sponsor for Skims. This is becoming a pop culture segment now.
Oh, God. I don't think Taylor Swift cares about that stuff.
No. I guess we could wrap with this. Chris, finish these two sentences, I guess, for me. The Kansas City Chiefs will win if, and the Kansas City Chiefs will lose if, and then give us your prediction on the game for next Monday.
Kansas City Chiefs win if we capitalize in the red zone, scoring touchdowns. If we are, and we've not been good in the red zone, we can from the 20 to the 20, we can get it down there. But we have not capitalized. If we're kicking field goals, we're going to lose. But if we cash in with touchdowns, we have a good chance of winning the game. And on defense, definitely holding, containing AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, of course, making you guys one-dimensional. If we can eliminate the run from you guys and just make you pass happy, I think we have a good chance of winning the game. Now, if we lose, if you guys are running the football and passing all over us, and we're kicking field goals, not capitalizing in the red zone, yeah, we're going to lose the game.
All right, so what's your prediction?
I know it's kind of early, but I'm going to go 27-24 Chiefs.
All right. Al, you got a prediction for the game?
Chris, I've so in the preseason we sit and we predict every game on the schedule. I'm sure you guys do something similar for the Chiefs. We revisit it and we talk about it again. And before the season started, I said this to me looks like a clear loss for the Eagles. You're going to Kansas City. You know what you're getting, and it's come it's here. You're the number one team in the AFC. Pretty much status quo, right? I can't sit here and say objectively that the Eagles are going to win this game. I just can't do it. I think that when I'm looking at it from outside, an outsider's perspective, I'm not watching Chiefs football every second of every game the way you are. But from an outsider's perspective, it does look like the Chiefs are a little bit of a weaker team than they were last year. You said it earlier. Patrick Mahomes, he looks like he's trying to force some things that he didn't necessarily do it last year. He's on pace to throw more interceptions this year than I think any year in his career. But with all that said, I have to respect Kansas City. I have to respect Andy Reid. I have to respect Patrick Mahomes. And a Monday night home game, they're going to have their guys ready. They're going to be ready.
Yeah.
So I will say that the Chiefs are going to win this game. I'm not going to say that they'll cover the spread. So I'll take Chiefs 24-23 over the Eagles, and I hope that I'm eating crow come this time late Monday night next week.
I actually had the Eagles winning this game in the preseason, but I'm kind of changing my tune as the season is going on. Al, you know that we've been very aware of the things that Andy Reid has done off a bye week and his record off a bye week. It's been very, very good. I think this Chiefs defense has impressed me to the point where I'm not as confident in the Eagles' ability to score, especially without Dallas Goedert. There's really not a ton there on the outside if the Chiefs cornerbacks play up to their capabilities. I got Chiefs 24-20. I think it'll be a good game, but I think at the end of the day, the Chiefs being at home, they'll end up pulling this one out. And I think after the Dallas win, even though the Eagles are on a bye, it's not something that, it's not necessarily a must-have, especially being out of conference at this point in time. I think the Dallas game was obviously much more important than this one per se.
Hopefully you guys are not getting what's it called? What do you guys call it? Not the tush push, but what do you guys call it?
The brotherly shove.
The brotherly shove. Y'all getting that off, y'all gonna win all day.
Yeah, I mean the pushback on the brotherly shove has just been crazy because
hey man, use it as long as they let you.
I don't understand what's illegal about it.
Right.
I don't either. I guess they feel like it could hurt people or whatever, but I don't know. Other than that, hey, if you got a secret weapon, use it.
And other teams have tried to use it, and it's not nearly been as successful as that.
Yeah, they don't have the offensive line you guys have.
Yeah, and the quarterback has to have some
that too.
Yeah.
But listen, Chris, it was awesome collabing with you. Best of luck. I know you want to plug your show now for everybody. Again, I don't know how many Philly fans are going to be listening to Kansas City shows, but feel free to drop some info on us.
Yeah, you can follow AH Chief Podcast. You could also follow me on Cris Style and Mall Podcast, where we talk about everything. We talk about football, basketball, boxing, everything. On that podcast. You can follow me at Chris_Style 702. Hit me up. Just hit me up, talk to me, you know what I'm saying? I'll talk back with you. It's all good.
Thanks for joining. And Al will be on your show on Friday.
Yeah, man.
For that. We'll be sending out the link as well. But good luck on Monday night, and we'll be in touch and maybe do something again after the game.
Yes, sir. Hopefully for a good game, man.
All right.
Great talking to you again, Chris.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
All right. Take care.
Peace.
All right, Al, before we jump into segment 2, let's do our locks of the week. You want to talk about Saxers?
Yeah, so I actually looked up the specials. I promptly forgot what they were. Saxers, though, I know they were running during, I want to say, all Sixers games these days. They got an Orange Crush deal. Now, I don't want to misquote it, so I don't want to put the price out there, but all Sixers games, they do have a drink special going on. So if you head down to Saxers, you tell them that the 3K podcast sent you. Let Ryan know that Al and the guys were the ones to tell you to come down. I'm sure he might hook you up with a little bit off the tab. Maybe not, but you know what? Maybe you'll see me and I'll buy you a couple of drinks. So head on down to Saxers. That's at 148 Saxer Ave in beautiful Springfield, Pennsylvania, in the heart of Delco. And go get your drink on and enjoy. Listen, you got to celebrate when you got the Sixers doing the things that they're doing. And Tyrese Maxey is running roughshod against the Indiana Pacers for 50 points. Go enjoy a game at Saxers, guys.
Love to hear that. All right, I'll start out. I'm making a rule for us here. We're usually broadcast on Tuesday nights. We're on Monday nights this week due to scheduling conflict. I'm going to give us the flexibility to change our pick at some point later in the week if we need to. Making a lock of the week on Monday night is a little early. Tuesday is early. Monday's really early.
I mean, look, you got to do you whatever day you're doing it. I mean, you got to take it. If you believe in the pick, then that's the pick.
All right. I'm taking the Cleveland Browns. They were at -4 this morning. They were -3.5 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, despite being 6-3, have been outgained in every single game that they've played this year. Just a truly remarkable stat. I was extremely impressed with the way Cleveland came back against Baltimore. And could there be a little bit of a letdown this week? Sure. But I actually think it's going to be a little bit of a jumping point for that team. And their defense is elite. I see them at home stifling that Pittsburgh offense. They already lost a game in Pittsburgh this year, so I think there's a little bit of a revenge factor. I think the magic runs out for Pittsburgh this week, and I got Cleveland winning that game by 10 points.
All right. I have the Rams coming off of a bye, and you talk about the lines changing. This line's already changed, so I got them at +2.5 earlier today. It's already down to +1.5, and they're playing the Seattle Seahawks. We talked about the Seahawks a little bit last week. They don't really impress me. Yes, they just grinded out a win against the Commanders. However, if you look at the stats, they don't really do anything too well. They're middle of the pack. They haven't really beaten a good team this year. I think the Rams are a very similar team in that they're not great at one thing, and they're just kind of middling in the teens and the 20s and all of the statistics offensively and defensively. So a home division game, getting points. This isn't a Rams team that's ready to roll over and die just yet, in my opinion. I think McVay will have them ready to come out and play against the Seahawks. So give me the Rams +2.5. If you need to take the 1.5, go ahead and take the 1.5 because I obviously think they're going to win it outright. So go ahead and just take the Rams and the points.
So it's crazy that I gave you the opt-out, and you don't even know if Matt Stafford's going to play, but you didn't want to take the opt-out.
I don't care, dude. I don't care. I look at the game and the line, and that's it.
Doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for Al. We're going to wing it at that point.
Listen, you could give me multiple choice, and I would get it wrong. It could be Toon. It could be DeVito. It could be Badgett.
The whole slew of NFL stud quarterbacks. All right, let's before we jump into segment 2, which I'm very excited for, let me talk a little about Righteous Felon. We've mentioned it on here many times. Righteous Felon has the best jerky in the area. If you are a beef jerky guy and you're not getting Righteous Felon, I don't know what you're doing. Tonight's one that will feature is the Maryland Monroe, which again has a little bit of I believe it's a crab flavored, a little Chesapeake style. One of the top selling flavors that they have there. Use the code OCSN15 for 15% off any order, and any orders over $50, you will get free shipping. Again, the promo code is OCSN, not the 15. So OCSN for 15% off your jerky orders, and every order over $50 gets free shipping. Take a look on their website. Take a look at all the different flavors they have. Like I said, it's the best jerky in the area. So check it out, www.righteousfelon.com. All right, you ready to get into it?
Hyperbole alert.
Yeah. Homer alert, homer alert. The Philadelphia 76ers moved to 8-1 after a victory last night over the Indiana Pacers. Tyrese Maxey, you saw it all over our Twitter feed, drops a 50-piece on them. Joel Embiid with 37, and I think it was 15. You would have thought, or 17 actually.
19 in the first quarter, right?
And you would have thought it was a complete afterthought on the performance of Tyrese Maxey. They finished the week off with victories over the Celtics, the Pistons, and the Pacers. And like I said, they moved to an NBA best 8-1. You want to start with the Maxey talk, or can we talk about the team?
Let's talk about the team.
Okay, let's start with the team. So let's go with the most basic question there is. We've asked it a couple of times. How has this start changed your expectations moving forward for this team? Are you back in?
I'm back in. Look at the East right now, right? I know it's early. We're young in the season. There's 2 teams as of right now. It's us and Boston. I'm all the way back in. This team is completely different from the teams that we've seen the last 6 and 7 years. And I know that I've been, along with you, driving the Joel Embiid can't win in the playoffs train. And I still have one hand on the wheel of that train. I'm still not ready to completely
You said
absolve.
you're all in.
No, but I'm not ready to completely absolve Joel Embiid of those sins. But it's different now because now we have a Tyrese Maxey who's playing at a top 10 level in the league. He's playing at a top 25 player in the league level. Okay, that's the difference. We've been saddled with guys that are they dribble the air out of the ball. They don't want to shoot when it comes time to win a game. This is a different story. So now it's not so much for me a Joel Embiid thing. It's a Tyrese Maxey, and it's a Nick Nurse thing. I feel so much better with Nick Nurse on the bench. We're seeing it out of this team. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I know you asked me about my expectations. So my expectations, yeah, they've gone through the roof. I said that this team was potentially only going to win, 43 games? That's laughable now at this point.
I think you had it a little higher. I think you were 46 or 47. I was the lowest.
Even so, I mean, at this point, that's laughable. Like we look like a top 2 team in the East as of right now. So that's where my expectation lies, is that it's finally going to be the year where we break through that ceiling and we make it at a minimum to the Eastern Conference Finals.
So you're writing off Milwaukee already.
I'm not writing them off. I think we look better. I think that a lot of these stars from the last decade or so, I think Father Time's starting to catch up. A lot of these guys don't look that good just yet.
Yeah, there's still a lot of basketball to be played. There's still a lot of moves to be made because I think a lot of these teams aren't done.
Absolutely.
Look, unfortunately, it's. I went into the Sixers season with the thought that I could just watch the games, have my expectations lowered. They win, they win. They lose, they lose. Well, they've already changed that for me, where I'm already back on as far as my investment in the team and my emotional stock, I would say, in what goes on. They've been an absolute pleasure to watch, especially after what we've watched the past 2 years with James Harden dribbling the air out of the basketball, with Doc Rivers failing to make adjustments, with failing to put players in the right positions. We have a coach that has, I don't know, preached defense, but he's put in a defensive scheme where they're a hell of a lot more active on the defensive end. They're actually rebounding. They went from a team that was always, at least the last 2 or 3 years, 26th, 25th, 27th in rebounding. I believe they're 4th right now in rebounding. And Al, you and I have destroyed Joel Embiid for his lack of rebounding, and he's been crushing it on the glass.
Oh, he looks like a new guy out there. Him and Tobias, man. I'm seeing them box out for the first time in their careers.
They've gotten out in transition. They're scoring easy baskets. They're moving the ball. It's truly been a pleasure to watch. With that said, I'm not in. I'm not in.
Just do it, man. Don't hold yourself back.
I'm not going to get hurt again. I know how this ends. I've ridden this ride too many times that I'm going to be late to get on. If Joel Embiid is going to prove me wrong in the playoffs, I don't care what he does in the regular season. I don't. I'm happy to see it. I love watching it, but I don't care anymore. He won the MVP. He was the best player in the league last year. He looks rejuvenated. That's all well and good until he faces Boston or Milwaukee in the playoffs, and he starts falling down and turning the ball over and going 6 for 21 from the floor. Until I see that change, I'm just a casual. I'm not.
This is where we differ, though, because I said it's not about Joel Embiid, but if you want to make it about Joel Embiid, and again, we're talking about a 9-game window, but if you look at his turnover numbers when he gets double teamed already this season, it's like cut in half. He's playing a lot better when he gets pressured in the corner or gets pressure on the baseline, gets pressure when he has his back to the basket. And I think it's because now, if you look at the offense, Nick Nurse has these guys cutting to the basket. He has these guys moving. There's more motion. Nobody's just standing around and waiting for Joel to do something when he gets the ball. You talked about they get out and run. This team gets out and runs in transition. And to me, what one of the big key pieces of this has been is that it doesn't have to be a guard pushing the rock. We've seen Tobias Harris push the rock out on a break. We've seen Joel do it. We've seen Kelly Oubre do it. And then when they get there, there's guys cutting to the basket, either as a decoy or as a scoring option. We have Joel Embiid hanging out on the elbow. He gets the ball. He's looking to make a pass. He's looking at different options. He's not just standing there and then playing ISO ball. I think that, dude, more than anything, I think Nick Nurse's fingerprints are all over this team right now. And we're seeing the potential that we thought we were going to see when Doc Rivers took the bench. And we just never saw it because Doc is stubborn and Doc plays one way and Doc lets James Harden do whatever he wants to do. We have a whole new offense out there right now. And Joel Embiid's a part of it. He's not the main part of it.
So just to counter a stat that you gave in regards to turnovers, I agree he's looked a little better with the ball, but the two contenders in the East that they've played so far, at Milwaukee, Joel Embiid, 7 turnovers. Versus Boston, Joel Embiid, 6 turnovers. So I don't care how many times he turns the ball over against the Wizards or the Raptors. It's those teams.
That's fine. And I'm the first one. I did it last week, right? I'm the first one when Joel was throwing up, what was it, like a 48 spotty, or who was it that he beat and he was doing the crotch chop? And I was like, yo, get out of here with these shenanigans. I'm the first one to say and call him out on that. I don't want to see that either. But again, I agree with you, Tom, in the chat. This is, to me, a Nick Nurse thing, man. This is a Nick Nurse thing. You got Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid running a pick and roll that looks just as unstoppable as it did last year with, I'll give him his credit, with James Harden and Joel Embiid when they were running an unstoppable pick and roll. Joel Embiid looks like he trusts the guys around him to a degree that he hasn't in the past.
100%. And I agree 100% as well that Nick Nurse is the biggest part. Well, actually, I think the biggest part is what we're going to talk about in the second half of this segment. But Nick Nurse is the second biggest part. And I'll give you a prime example of what I'm talking about. I remember in Maxey's second year, so this was the Ben Simmons year. So Tyrese is thrown into the fire after his rookie season, and he's given the ball, right? Before they get James Harden, the first half of the season, he's the point guard. And Doc Rivers publicly stated that he didn't want Tyrese Maxey taking floaters anymore because he was falling too in love with the floater. He had too much speed. He could get to the rim at any time, and he didn't want him to take that shot because analytically, it's not a great shot. The mid-range 2 is out. The floater is out. The most efficient shots in basketball are layups or shots at the rim as well as three-pointers. That's what they want you taking. The problem with the analytics, and that's where this was all driven from, is it factors in a pool of players that is, 12 times 32, what's that, 600 deep? No, less than that. No, 370, 380 deep.
300, yeah.
Yeah. So let's say 400 if you count the G League guys. If you're elite at that type of shot, you shouldn't be told not to take it. The top 2 or 3 guys, that's still an efficient shot if you're one of the best players in the game. And you've seen Tyrese now, not only does he get to the rim, not only has his shot improved, but he's gone back to that floater. And that's taken away. You mentioned last week, Al, those out-of-control layups that we saw, for a lot of the season where he could have had the floater, but he's so content on getting to the rim that he's getting out of control. And now that he has that floater back in his arsenal, he's truly unstoppable because he can shoot it with distance. He has tremendous speed. He's got it all.
It's so short-sighted to tell one of these professional athletes not to do the thing that makes you great, right? At some point in his career, I'm sure Steph Curry's coaches, whether it was in AAU, whether it was at Davidson, or whether it was his rookie season at Golden State, were telling him, stop throwing up these 27-footers in practice. You're never going to do it in the game. So that's so short-sighted, and it just plays to the ignorance and the arrogance of Doc Rivers. But let's not talk about Doc anymore. Let's move on to Tyrese, the main event.
I got one more thing I wanted to mention before we get into Tyrese. How, scale of 1 to 10, how shook were you Saturday night when the Oubre story drops that this team is just cursed and it's never going to happen for us?
Yeah, like an 8, only because it was Oubre, which I'm not saying it, obviously, thinking about the guy, hoping he makes a recovery, all that. But as far as on the court, it wasn't Maxey and it wasn't Embiid. So it was like, it's not a 10, but yeah, it's a solid 8. I mean, we need him.
The funniest thing about Oubre and what happened, and like I'm happy that he's okay, and by all accounts, it wasn't a major injury. Could have been a lot worse. So, shout out to him and prayers out to him and all his family and everything that happened. And hopefully they get the guy who ran him over because he deserves to get.
Oh, they will.
Caught. Yeah, the city's after him.
Yeah.
But before that, even like the first few games, he had played so well.
Yeah.
And I kept saying to myself, Kelly Oubre is going to eventually revert back to the Kelly Oubre of old. We saw a couple games. I think the game before he got hurt, he only had 8 points. I think it was the Detroit game. And I was like, you know what? If he's not getting his shots and he's not getting his points, is his defensive effort going to lapse? Like, I see this coming a mile away. And then the incident happens. And in my head, I go, well, how are we going to win another game without Kelly Oubre? Like, that's the life of being a fan of a team. It's just like you can be so mad or have such pessimistic thoughts. But when a player gets, something like that happens, you're just like, well, this is going to kill our team at that time because he's such a player that we've never had in, an athletic wing that, will crash the weak side and dunk. Like, who do we have that's ever been able to do that?
Right. We haven't had anybody.
Yeah.
We haven't had anybody. And he fills that role nicely. So hopefully he has a speedy recovery.
Yeah, I think we got lucky with everything that happened there, and hopefully it is a speedy recovery. But let's get to the meat of the situation. Let's get to Tyrese Maxey.
Stud.
This guy has taken a step forward, a leap forward. He has been unbelievable. He's currently at 28.6 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, 7.2 assists on 50% from the floor, 43% from three, 93% from the line. He's up 8 points per game. He's basically doubled his rebounds. He's basically doubled his assists, and he's become more efficient despite shooting the ball more. Now, a 50-point game will blow up your stats a little bit. So we're only 9 games in, so there's a little ballooning there. But the step forward that this guy has taken is truly remarkable.
It's so obvious that he is in this league to win. He's a competitor. He wants to get better. He wants to get the guys around him better. It's the exact opposite of what we've dealt with our last 2 starting point guards, or last 3, if you want to include Markelle Fultz. He is making his weaknesses strengths. His jump shot in college was consistently said he doesn't have a good enough jumper for the NBA. Now it's one of the best jump shots in the league. He's taking step-back threes a la Steph Curry that are just absolutely unguardable. They said he didn't have a handle. He's the starting point guard for the team. He's averaging a career high in assists, as you said. His defense was always, he's too small. He can't guard the guards. His defense is more than passable. He has that break. He has that catch down, the rundown block on Buddy Hield. That's LeBron-esque. I mean, this dude is while Ben Simmons and even our boy Paul Reed are putting out videos from the Y in the summer, this dude's just working his ass off and becoming an elite player. He's one of only 7 players in the league, I think, right now. 7 players averaging 25, 5, and 5. And out of those players, he's averaging the most minutes per game, and he has the least turnovers per game. So this dude is doing it at such a high rate. He's playing nearly 40 minutes a game, playing both ends of the floor. I don't know what more we can ask of him at this point. Like, I have people that are still telling me we need a third piece. We need a big 3. Why? It's a big 2 league now. And if you don't perceive Tyrese Maxey to be a big enough 2 on this team, you got to open your eyes. You got to watch the games.
Well, that's the question. And before you do that, I want to just bring this up. There's no way he's going to average 28, 5, and 7 for the season. But the era that he's in right now, here are the players who have done that for an entire season. You ready? LeBron, D. Wade, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Devin Booker. That's it. That's the list of the history of the NBA.
Look, I'm not going to put money on this. I don't know why he can't average that.
And let me actually take Devin Booker off that list because the Devin Booker stats are for this year, and he's only played 2 games. So Devin Booker's not even involved in that.
Look, he's the number 1 catch and shoot player in the league right now. He's averaging the most points per possession off the catch and shoot. He's literally, he's been unstoppable. They're triple teaming him in the backcourt. I mean, this kid, look, guys our age, especially, right? we have that Iverson complex where we always want to compare everything and everyone to Iverson that steps on the basketball court in Philadelphia. But Tyrese Maxey is truly the most electric player and fiercest competitor that we've seen since Allen Iverson.
I listened to a podcast with Daryl Morey on it last week, and I thought he said it great. You mentioned the trade, Al. The next 2 months before they make this deal or whatever deal they're going to end up making to solidify this roster, they need to find out if Tyrese Maxey can be the second best player on a championship team. And that was an exact quote from Daryl Morey. And he also said, it's a little different when you start seeing your name on the top of the scouting report. And he mentioned that, Joel's name will always be at the very top, but Tyrese's name is now going to be in bold print as well. So again, can he be that guy against the Boston, against the Milwaukee, when all eyes are on him? I don't see why he can't with the way he's moved forward, but he has to prove that because in the playoffs, he's been good, but he hasn't been as good as he's been in regular seasons thus far. And he hasn't had the opportunity. I mean, he's had James dribbling the ball for 2 years. So it's a different role.
Right. It's totally different team. And dude, this team as a whole has just been terrible in the playoffs. But if you look at Denver last year in the finals, their top two guys, we know who they are, Jokic and Murray. Between the two of them, they averaged about 51 points. I think Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey can average about 51 points in the playoffs. I really do. I think if you're taking
they
some
need
of
more
that,
than that, though. The Sixers need more than that, I think.
Well, I don't know. Aaron Gordon averaged 14, Bruce Brown averaged 11, and that was it for double figures for the Nuggets. If you have Tobias Harris is having one of the best offensive seasons of his career as far as efficiency goes. If he can still average between 10 and 12, Kelly Oubre is going to average probably between 10 and 18. He might be able to get you on any given night.
Yeah, no, maybe you're right.
I think that this team is different, man. This team is different, and I'm buying in even more the more we talk about it.
It'll be interesting to see. So one exercise we wanted to do here, Al, is we wanted to see where Tyrese Maxey ranks in the NBA right now. And I think there's 2 steps to this. And I think the first one we can agree on pretty easily. You asked me, is he a top 10 player right now, the way he's playing at this moment in time? Not, big picture, is he top 10? With the numbers that we talked about, you can't say that he hasn't played like a top 10 guy this year. The NBA MVP ladder came out today. He was ranked 3rd. I saw another stat. It was a rating. I actually took a snapshot, but I don't have the entire picture. But basically an efficiency rater for the season so far. He's the 4th best player in the league behind Jokic, Embiid, and Luka. So there's no way, given the way he's played thus far, that he's not a top 10 player in the entire league. So I think we're in agreement there.
The bigger argument is probably top 5 because you got Ant. Like I'm going to get, Edwards is playing his ass off. Shea Gill's playing his ass off. But Maxey is just like not to come out of nowhere. But to come from a place where he was the 3rd option to now he's potentially the man on the team. I mean, Joel Embiid said it himself, called him the franchise.
Let's look where he is big picture though. What I want to do with this, I'm going to pull up if you're watching live, I'm going to pull up the NBA, the Ringers top 100 players in the NBA. This was done in the preseason. So you're going to see a little bit of a difference here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll all the way down to where Tyrese Maxey was ranked in the preseason.
Which was like 50-something, am I right?
52. Can you see it on the screen there, Al?
Yeah.
There's 52. You got Fred VanVleet, Andrew Wiggins, Chris Middleton, Bancaro. I think we're good to move him up at least 20 spots right off the top.
And Draymond Green, Darius Garland, Pascal Siakam, Domantas Sabonis, AD.
So and the way I want to do this, Al, is I don't want to go to the future. I want who is the better basketball player on the court right now. Okay? Who is the better basketball player at this moment in time? So I'm just going to scroll through, and I think we can all agree we're starting with number 1. Jokic we're not there yet. Giannis, we're not there. Steph, we're not there. You can kind of tell me when to stop here. Luka, Tatum, Embiid, Durant, Butler.
I think you can stop at Durant right now.
I'm talking about not like looking at this full season, not at this like very, very moment in time.
All right. I'm still hesitant. Like KD has the name. Sure. Have you watched any Phoenix Suns games this season? Yeah, look, I don't know. Look, it's so tough only being not even 10 games into the year, but I've seen 2 games where he has just mailed it in. like mailed it in. He comes down the court, he goes away from the ball and just stands there.
If I said to you, this was the last season in the history of the NBA, and the Suns are offering Kevin Durant for Tyrese Maxey.
The fact that I'm hesitating though tells you that KD is. I don't think he's the same player right now anymore.
That's fine. Let's pull up Kevin Durant. That's why we're here. So let's.
He doesn't shoot the three, right? He's a mid-range sniper. I'll give him that. Obviously, I just think that he's getting older. He's playing. It says he's his 17th season in the league, and these were games I watched. That game where they fell apart against the Spurs, I watched that whole fourth quarter. They were up 10, and he decided to pack it in. Now Bradley Beal wasn't on the floor, and Devin Booker wasn't on the floor, but you would think that would just give KD a little bit more of an incentive to go out and just win the game. He didn't take that game over.
So here's where we got to be careful, Al. Is we have the expectations. I'm looking at Kevin Durant's numbers for the season, and they're better than Tyrese Maxey's. Despite what you're saying, Kevin Durant's currently at 30 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and his percentages are basically exactly the same as Tyrese Maxey.
What's his VORP? What's his GWID?
Oh, are you a Jokic guy now? Listen, I think you're ahead of your skis with Kevin Durant here. Tyrese Maxey's not in that class yet.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, the next guy I got him over.
You would take so Jimmy Butler to me it's an interesting argument because regular season Maxey is probably better than
Right.
but Jimmy's done it in the playoffs, so I don't think you can put him if you're making this list up, you can't put Tyrese Maxey over Jimmy Butler.
Man, but I want to.
I need somebody to help you here. So now let's keep going down here. Devin Booker, he's not better than Booker.
Not better than Book.
He's not better than Shea. He's not better than either Davis or LeBron. I'm still not ready to give him Kawhi. And I think here is where we can start having a conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm still not there yet. So if you're not watching, we're at the point now. We've gone through the top 13 guys, and now we're at Damian Lillard. We're at a bunch of guards. Damian Lillard, 14. Jamal Murray, 15. Donovan Mitchell, 16. De'Aaron Fox, 17. Anthony Edwards, 18. John Morant, 19. So there's a slew of guards in this boat. You have them over all these guys?
I don't think I do, but I just don't know why we underrate him so much. Why do we underrate him so much? Like, why can't we just believe that this leap he's made even in just 9 games is for real, and this is just who he is now?
I think we can, having seen him for so long, but the difference between him and I would say all of these guys, except for Fox and Edwards, but I actually think Edwards has also taken a leap where I would have Edwards closer to the top 10.
So would I.
At this point. So let's take Ant out of this. But all these other guys have done it on the playoff stage. Donovan Mitchell to a lesser extent, but I remember a playoff series with Utah where he averaged like 38. Jamal Murray's got a ring. Dame, I think the benefit of the doubt and the one thing that's going to, I don't want to say affect Maxey, but when you rank these guys, like Damian Lillard has put up stats that are comparable to Maxey right now and better in his career, but he's done it as the guy. Tyrese Maxey's always going to have that shadow that's sitting on him where, yeah, Tyrese has been great, but he still has Embiid there.
But Lillard did it as the guy and got nowhere. He got just as far as Tyrese.
I think Dame got to one conference final, but I agree. But what would prime Dame and Joel have done?
No, I see, and what I was going to say is right. What I was going to say is it almost becomes a comparison though between Dame and Embiid and not Dame and Tyrese. Do you see what I'm saying?
Dame. I actually think Dame is a prime comparison to where Tyrese is right now. In Dame came in the league a little bit older, but in Dame's third season, let's say third, because Tyrese really didn't play much his rookie year. Dame was 21 points per game, 21, 4, and 6. He shot 43% from 3. I'm sorry, he shot 43 from the floor, 34 from 3. So he wasn't that efficient. Like Tyrese Maxey at age 23 is better than Dame Lillard was at age 24. So I don't know, man. Like I watch him play and I see a lot of what Dame could do.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's a great comp. And if you sat here and said, would I trade Tyrese Maxey for Dame one-on-one right now? It's tough to pull the trigger after watching what we just watched. It's really hard. And Dame's my favorite player in the league.
Right. I mean,
It's
listen, we
just
have
hard
to
to
be
know.
we're a little bit prisoners of the moment. We actually decided to do the segment before the 50 piece, which may have been a little bit more objective at that point in time.
It would have been, but to me, also the age plays a factor, man. We're talking about guys that are in their mid-30s.
If you're asking me if I would trade straight up, I wouldn't do it at this point in time. The question becomes if I just wanted to do the trade for this season and then we'd get Maxey back at the beginning of next season, would you do that trade? And I probably still would. Just because he's been there.
Such a loaded question.
But like, I got to think about it, man.
So do I. It's such a loaded question. It's tough.
So
Honestly, listen, I'll be fair. It's probably Dame like 60-40.
I agree.
But I'm not putting Mitchell and Murray over him. Jamal Murray is just Jimmy Butler, right? He just transforms in the playoffs, right? But
Tyrese Maxey's better than Jamal Murray.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not a Jamal Murray guy in the regular season.
And Jamal Murray has the same. Jamal Murray has Jokic. Like what do you like? Maxey has Embiid. So
absolutely.
I think Jamal Murray's
empty buckets.
I'll be honest with you. I think Jamal Murray should be lower on this list.
So do I.
And I'm not ready to put him above Donovan Mitchell at this point. I'm not even ready to put him above Fox.
Fox is a tough one. Fox is really hard.
So I looked at Fox's stats because originally I was like, when I was going through this, I was like, he's better than Fox. And then I pulled up Fox's stats from last year. Dude, Fox last year, 25 points per game, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 51% from the floor. And again, that's as the number one guy. I think if I came to you and before the season and said, Tyrese Maxey, 25, 4, and 6, you would have signed up in a second.
But I think he gives us that this year minimum.
I think he can too, but I'm saying Fox has done it.
And I disagree necessarily that he's the number one guy.
Who is?
I think it's like a 1-1A situation out there with Sabonis. Sabonis, you have to plan for Sabonis.
Yeah, but Fox is the guy.
No, but he's not the outright guy like Dame was. Like it's not like a Dame and CJ thing.
Yeah, but they're Fox is the one. If you want to call Sabonis 1B, that's fine. But come the playoff time, Fox was the guy with the ball in his hands.
And he lost in the first round.
Yeah, but that team.
I think in the regular season, they snuck up on people. People didn't really game plan for them. I'm not trying to take anything away from De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is an incredible player, and he's a top 20 player in the league. I think it's close, though. I think I'm taking Tyrese.
If we're tiering them in tiers, they're in the same tier. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking Tyrese for this exercise.
I'm still going to lean Fox until I see it a little bit more from Tyrese. Here's the last one that's a giant question mark. If we're just talking about on the court, I'm taking Ja still.
Here's why I'm not anymore. And it's because, correct me if I'm wrong, Ja can't shoot.
No, he's not a great shooter, but he's the most explosive guy in the entire
Okay,
league.
so his explosiveness to me doesn't make up for the fact that Tyrese can shoot. Because Tyrese, while he's not just as explosive, he might be second to fifth in the league as far as being able to get to the rim.
Yeah, no question.
Right, and I think that his gap as far as a shooter versus Ja's shooting ability is far wider. Does that make sense?
You're talking me into it. Ja's a way better passer and playmaker. There's no question. That's the one part of Maxey's game that he needs to get better at. He's still not a great passer.
You're talking about we're talking about Tyrese having Embiid. I'm a huge believer that in this league, if you give a guy the rock and you run his usage rates through the ceiling, almost anyone in this league can put up those bonkers numbers that we see out of a guy like Shea Gill. I think if Maxey was in a situation where he was the guy and he just had, menial talent around him, dude, I think he's thrown up 30 pieces with regularity.
I mean, it's a great point by you.
Think about how many more shots.
I thought you were gonna make that point with Fox and Morant, and my argument back would be, well, those guys are still doing it and winning. I'm not sure if Tyrese Maxey in a situation like De'Aaron Fox is bringing a team to a 3 seed in the West.
No, I didn't say he's gonna. I didn't say he would make them necessarily into a winner.
But that's what Fox did.
Yeah, and again, I respect that. I think if you just trade them 1 for 1, I think Maxey can do it. Absolutely, I think Maxey can do it without question.
I mean, after what we've seen this year, I'm more bullish on it, but I don't.
Just knowing,
I need to see it.
The work.
I know Fox can. I've seen Fox do it.
Knowing the work that Tyrese Maxey has put in, I have no doubt that he would find out what needs to be done in a situation like Sacramento and get it done. I really do. Think about the player he's become in just 4 years.
I know. You're right about that. It's just hard for me. It's hard for me as a Sixers fan to admit that we have a guy like this. And that's what's truly sad.
He's the most underrated player in the league. And I don't know why it is. I can't put a finger on it. Because, and especially Philly fans, we should be overrating the hell out of him. and we don't.
So let's quickly run through these guards again, and we'll just go head to head. Lillard, and we're just doing it this year. You're trading Maxey for this guy straight up, and you get Maxey back at the end of the season. Lillard versus Maxey.
I think you probably have to take Dame. And I hate that. I hate that.
I'm taking Dame as well. Jamal Murray versus Maxey. I'm taking Maxey as well. Mitchell versus Maxey.
I'm taking Maxey.
I'm still going to take Mitchell. Fox versus Maxey.
I'm taking Tyrese.
I'm taking Fox, but it's very, very close. And Ant versus Maxey. We both agree on Maxey or Edwards. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I'm taking Ant.
No
I think I love him.
Ja versus Maxey.
I'm taking Tyrese.
You've talked me into Tyrese. I'll take Tyrese over Ja Morant.
Who's down there? Anybody? Paul George? Bam.
Here's a couple more guys that we can go over quickly before we get into our final segment tonight. Paul George and Bam Adebayo, especially Bam. Like, I have a very tough time comparing guards and centers. Bam Adebayo is a great player, defensive monster. I would still rather have Tyrese than him, but it's hard to compare those two guys.
Tyrese is a better guard than he is a center.
That's fair. Paul George is. I don't know what to say about those Clippers guys.
Yeah, they're losers. They're all losers.
Yeah, but Paul George, yeah, I would still probably take. Oh God, I don't watch enough Paul George. I would take Maxey over Paul George.
He's empty buckets, just like Donovan Mitchell, dude.
Here are the last two guys I want to talk about: Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey.
Jaylen Brown looks like he's been getting more exposed. Like, his handle has been getting more exposed these last couple of years.
Yeah, but he's been on the big stage and he's proven it.
He's also been on the big stage and taking a dump.
Yeah, I'd still take Jaylen Brown over Maxey for this year.
No way. I'm not taking Jaylen Brown over Tyrese.
Okay, and last but not least, the guy that we saw last night, Tyrese Halliburton.
I'm still not taking him over Tyrese Maxey. I'm taking Maxey over Halliburton, but man, I love Halliburton. That kid can play. He should be higher on this list, in my opinion.
So I'm definitely taking Maxey over Halliburton. I think Halliburton is good, but I think he's a little bit of a product of that system. Do you see how fast those guys play?
Dude, they just run.
And that's perfect for his game because he's a great vision. He can pass. He can shoot it too. But I wonder if he was in a more simplified system, if his numbers would be as good as they are. Yeah. I don't think that team's a playoff threat at all. That style of play is not going to work in a playoff.
No. And they play no defense.
Zero defense at all. So I think Halliburton's good, but I mean, I've seen lists where he's in the top 10 or near the top 10, and I think that's crazy. I don't think he's better than Tyrese. Maxey, I don't think. Not even close.
No. I agree. There's a gap.
There's one other guard that's further down on this list that I actually think is more underrated than Tyrese Maxey. Maybe not more underrated. Tyrese is so underrated.
Don't give me some magic player, dude.
No. But it's this guy right here, Jalen Brunson, dude. If I asked you what Jalen Brunson's numbers were last year, what would you tell me?
Last year?
Last year. I mean, this year is too early to
I don't know. He was spectacular in the playoffs, I remember, though. I don't know, like 26-8.
No, so it wasn't that good. He was 24, 4, and 6. He shot 49% from the floor, 41 from 3, and 82 from the line, and basically took the Knicks from the Drebs to a playoff team. Jalen Brunson's really, really good. I do think Maxey, talent-wise, is better. I think Brunson's got a little more savvy and creativeness to his game that Tyrese doesn't quite have yet.
It's a different game for sure. It's more of an old man's game.
Right.
But Maxey's game has gotten, you mentioned it earlier, a lot more polished.
It has. I do think he needs to still get a little bit more better with the passing, but he'll get there. I think him and Brunson are. We mentioned him, Fox being in the same tier. I think Brunson's in that same tier as well. I think they're all in the same boat.
Yeah, I listen. I'll stand by it. I think Maxey's a step, just a step above. Whether it's a small step, baby step, whatever step you want to say. I just think when you got a guy in Tyrese that's scoring at every level, he has unlimited range. All of a sudden, I mean, this is just. Look, man, we got to appreciate this because we've been pining for it for 7 years. We got to get Joel Guy. We have him. We have him.
All right, so quickly, just those other guys that we went over just to get concrete answers. I'm taking Tyrese over Paul George.
Yeah.
I'm skipping Adebayo. I'm taking Jaylen Brown over Tyrese.
No,
you're not.
I'm taking Maxey.
I'm taking Maxey over Halliburton.
Yep.
And I'm taking Maxey over Brunson, but God, it's close.
I'm taking Maxey over Brunson also.
So realistically, if we run those numbers, he's right around the 20th, maybe low teens, if in your book, because you have him a little better than me, player in this league.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I have him around the top 15 or so.
Which is crazy to think. So hopefully the run continues, man. And let's not also forget, you said we can't talk about Doc Rivers anymore in this segment, but Doc Rivers had Tyrese Maxey coming off the bench for about 18 or 19 games last year.
Clown.
Remember that?
Yeah, absolute clown, dude.
Insane. But that'll do it for segment 2 tonight. You have anything else to finish? We've got a big in-season tournament game tomorrow.
When's this thing over, dude?
I don't mind it. I thought I was going to hate it.
Well, there's just nothing to it. It's just like you're just watching a regular season game. There's nothing to this.
Yeah, but at least they did so. I don't like the courts, but at least when you watch it, it's an in-season tournament game. There's something to differentiate it from whatever else is out there.
My brother-in-law, friend of the pod, Dan, he said that he's all in on it, and I'm like, why? What's there to be all in on? What's the investment for the fan?
Well, I'll tell you this: Embiid is listed as questionable tomorrow because I think they have a back-to-back with Boston on Wednesday, and I think the Boston game is more important to them.
Yeah.
Batum also out for personal reasons tomorrow, so a little short-handed. Maybe some Marcus Morris tomorrow.
Hey, I wouldn't mind it.
Nice, thanks.
Nah, put him in there. Let him rough some guys up.
All right, a lot more Sixers talk to come this year, but we're going to jump into segment 3. But before we do, Al, you want to talk a little bit about Warlords?
All right, Warlord, we know that you got the beard going. No Shave November is in full effect. What better way to keep it growing and keep it looking nice and shiny than getting some Warlord men's grooming essentials? You're going to go to the website, warlordbeardoil.com. The promo code is OCSN15, and that's going to get you 15% off of your entire order. The holidays are coming up. It'll make a great stocking stuffer. Adam, maybe you and I can send a care package over to Chris. Who knows what's going on? I'm sure he hasn't shaven in at least 2 weeks now. So that thing might be getting a little bit out of control. Maybe he needs some of that beard oil.
Yeah, with no time to shave, the beard oil can only help what's going on there. I can't even imagine what he looks like. Maybe that's why he's not joining us for the podcast. He doesn't want to show his face.
Yeah, you know what? And I couldn't blame him. He's a pretty unattractive dude as it is.
That was a low blow.
You said it.
Hey, listen, maybe the Warlords Essentials can make him be a better looking guy. I'm sure they can.
You know what they call beard? It's makeup for men, Adam. So listen, you got a beard, go to warlordbeardoil.com, use promo code OCSN15, get 15% off your order
today. All right, let's Al, you brought this idea up. I'm gonna unshare this screen so we can get off the Tyrese Halliburton. And I have it listed as life questions brought to you by Warlords Men's Grooming. Go ahead, lead the way.
I would say this is more of bar questions. You're sitting at a bar with your buddies and you're arguing these questions that you're never going to be able to find the answer to. So you just argue for the sake of arguing because that's what men do. We don't talk about each other's families and each other's jobs and careers. We just argue. So I had a couple of things here, and then actually a couple of these are just like trivia, like sports trivia, just to see what you know. So I'll start with the argument, and this is an argument that took place. I was with some buddies up north of the Poconos. Shout out to Jelly, some of his friends, Chris Pfeiffer, a friend of the pod, and we were arguing. We had this debate around the fire. So Adam, it's a fight to the death, and it's yourself, any two friends that you want to pick, and then it's also AJ Brown and DK Metcalf are on your team. So five people.
We're a team of 5.
You're a team of 5.
Okay.
Each one of you is equipped with a 5-iron.
Okay.
5-iron golf club. Each one of you has one in your hands.
I'm very curious where this is going.
On the other side of the Coliseum, so you're in like a Coliseum type, atmosphere, is a lion.
One lion.
Male
or female?
Fight to the death, male. Big ass lion. Who wins that fight?
The lion.
No way. No way. It's not happening, dude. Not with 5 of us. And we all are fighting to survive. Now, the lion's going to take 1 or 2 of us out. Right? Whichever 2 friends you picked in your head, they're gone. They're done. I have enough faith. I have enough faith in DK and AJ and then myself to just be whacking away at that thing with those clubs, man. Like going for the eyes, the snout, the mouth, the throat. I was researching a little bit today, right? Because this was heated, man. It was 2-on-2 with this argument. And there's a man who defeated a lion 1-on-1 with his bare hands. And it wasn't even some professional athlete. So you're telling me if one guy can do it, 5 guys with weapons can do it for sure.
If the 5 guys can get together a plan and execute said plan, then I think they would win. The problem becomes, as you said, Al, the lion's going to get 1 or 2 of you. So can you convince like one of you that, all right, this is how we're going to attack, and you're going to go from the front, and you're pretty much dead? Or is it going to be where we're each kind of on our own, and AJ Brown's going to be the first one to test it out, and then AJ's gone, and now we're down to 4, and then somebody else tries it, now we're down to 3, and now it's over. Well, so you got to have guys who are willing to sacrifice. You got to have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, you're done. That's my concern, is that we're going to fall apart when we see that first guy get eaten. Like, that's the end of it.
So that's where your friend choices come into play, right? Maybe you take a couple of guys who maybe it's not friends. Maybe it's just like a couple of older guys that you know them. You know what I mean? Like they won't mind being the first 2 out there.
Now, are you snapping the 5-iron in half to get a sharp metal edge to stab him?
I'm whacking away for dear life at those eyes, man. Like that's all I kept saying is like go for the eyes, go for the nose. If it opens its mouth to eat you, you just jam it down its throat.
Yeah, but then your club's going to break.
No, its throat is going to break. I'm going to jam that club right down its throat. And then DK and AJ are right there, dude, just hammering away at its head.
Let's see if we can get this to happen. You're going to go with you and Jelly and AJ and DK are going to go in the cage with one other friend of yours. And we're going to see it. We'll broadcast it live here on StreamYard.
I did ask ChatGPT in the moment, and ChatGPT was not having it. So I first put in 5 people, and it was like the chances are like 0. And then I was like, well, what about if AJ Brown, DK Metcalf are on my team? And it was like, even with professional athletes such as, it was like it still is a zero chance of survival. So, and then I said, what about if we had 5 irons? And it still was not having it.
All right, so there you have it. We're disagreeing on that one. What else do you have?
So this one was I saw this on Twitter, and I can't remember who said it. You might even know. You might have even seen it. But in a straight up game, and I actually think I already know where you're going to go with this because of a comment you'd made in the past. In a straight up game of basketball, who wins? The top boys high school team in the country,
I saw this,
or the WNBA champions?
It's different than what we talked about before.
It is different. Which for the listeners, jog their memory what it was before.
So we talked before, and I believe it was, you can correct me if I'm wrong, a mid-level Division I basketball team against the D2 basketball team. Is that what we talked about?
I thought it was D1. I thought you said a D.
I said no. Yes, the women's team would be a mid-level Division I team. I'm not talking UConn.
Right.
I'm talking like Georgia Tech.
Right. Disrespecting the Georgia Tech women's basketball team.
I hope they're not listening. Who was it against?
I think you said like
no, it was against us.
Yeah, it was against
and
us.
All I said was that we would be able to,
which is asinine,
be competitive. I didn't say we'd win. I said we would be on the floor and we wouldn't get like wiped away.
Okay.
That was my argument. And I'm not talking about, and I'm also not talking about us now. I'm talking about prime us.
Yeah, it's not like, much more.
Well, no, I'm just talking about the shape that we're in. I'm early 20s.
Yeah.
That was my argument.
All right. Well, that's still incorrect. So, but I think I know what you're going to say now.
No, you're wrong. I think the WNBA team would win.
Really?
That's the elite of the elite. Okay. I am firmly on the side of the WNBA team. Now, granted, the number one high school team in the country probably has at least 3 Division I players.
Yeah.
I think it's competitive. I don't
you
think
ever see that video? I think it's Kelsey Plum is at like the Y, and she is just like cooking dudes.
Again,
just taking their lunch.
The girls that are playing, I think even when we talked about our argument earlier, when I said mid-level Division I think I was even mentioning like Toledo or Rider or something along those lines, even lesser than a Georgia Tech. The difference between the girls on Toledo's basketball team and the girls on the Las Vegas Aces is a monstrous gap.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the WNBA. I don't think it's a blowout by any means, but I'm going to take the women in this one because, dude, those girls are talented. It's not that they're not, and there's a physicality in the WNBA that I'm not going to say it's like the NBA. It's not anything like that, but there's still a physicality to the professional women's basketball league that you're not seeing on the college level or even the high school level.
I mean no disrespect when I say this, but I just think that sports are built for men and men's bodies. And even though you're talking about 18-year-olds and potentially 17-year-olds, as you said, if you're taking the best high school boys basketball team, then you're talking about kids who most likely have pro aspirations.
Yeah.
I just can't see those guys getting out on a break are going to be so much faster. Just again, because of their body. The fastest guy is going to be faster than the fastest girl. It's just physics. It's just, no disrespect.
To be fair, Patrick Beverly said the WNBA team would mop him up.
Yeah, I did see that. I'm happy to be wrong here, but I'm just going off of what I believe to be as too big of an athleticism.
I did see that a casino or a book has offered to pay the women to play. I think it was $1 million a player to play in the game.
Listen, never say never, because we got to see Conor McGregor versus Floyd in a fight. Ever since I saw that actually happen, I've learned that we really are in an age where like money talks and anyone will do anything for money at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see it.
I don't think there's a lot in it for the women. Like
money. The money. Those women.
Yeah, but if they lose that game, that's a huge step back for women's sports.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. All right. So now these are just a couple trivia questions. So we'll see if the listeners at home, I know some people like the trivia. I'll give you a few minutes. I'll give you like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm not going to, keep an actual timer or anything, but and I can give you some hints along the way. I hope you haven't seen this before. Can you name all of the teams that share a name in professional sports? So the 4 professional sports leagues, talking about the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, and the NHL. Give me the team names that are shared across leagues.
How many are there? 4, 5?
There are 6.
6. Okay. Let's start with the randomest one, the Jets. The Winnipeg Jets, New York Jets.
Yep.
You're the Sacramento Kings, Los Angeles Kings.
Yep.
I've got the St. Louis Cardinals and the Arizona Cardinals, the New York Rangers and the Texas Rangers. I said the Kings.
Said the Kings.
Okay. The Florida Panthers and the Carolina Panthers.
Yep. This is record time, dude.
I'm missing one.
Segment's going to be shorter than we thought. You're actually missing the one that I got first.
Giants.
Yep.
Yeah, the Giants, New York Giants, San Francisco Giants.
Wow. That was record time.
Well, that's why I usually host the Trivia Fans.
That's impressive. That's impressive. All right, so here's one more. And if you get this one quick, then we'll just drop the beat. So there are 4 D1 colleges with a color in their name, not the mascot name, right? So not like Stanford Cardinal. The actual institution has a color in its name. There are 4 in Division I.
Oh, that's hard.
This is a tough one. I mean, I needed hints for this one.
So this is like the name of the university has a color in it.
Right. So Tom McGuire in the chat threw Duke Blue Devils out there. It's Duke. Like if Duke was a color, then that would be one of the answers.
And it's like it's not a name with it's not like RED is hidden in the name.
No, they all have the color in the name. Yeah, no.
And Division I.
Yep.
This is hard. How many?
4.
Man. Black. I'm trying to think of like states. Tom, you're welcome to help as a lifeline on this if you can. I
got one pretty quickly and then ended up needing to talk through the last 3. So anytime you want a hint, I can.
No, I need a sec. Are these how many are in major conferences?
1.
Okay, so we're looking at smaller schools. Blue, purple, orange.
Purple State University.
Carolina blue doesn't count as a color, does it?
No.
That's a great question, though. Tom, where you at, dude? In the chat. Is Boise a color?
Boise is not a color.
Hawaii. Pink. Green. All right, you have any other hints?
Okay. Think smart institutions.
Harvard.
That's actually another hint Tom McGuire just inadvertently dropped in the chat.
Shit. UM?
Shit. No, shit is an inadvertent hint.
Poop? Smart institutions.
Yeah.
Penn, Princeton, Yale, Harvard, Columbia,
You just might not know this school.
Dartmouth.
I don't think you know this school.
I know them all.
Well, you're missing the one that should have been pretty obvious with these hints. Tom got it.
Brown.
Brown is 1.
Brown is 1.
So here's a hint for the next one.
I literally named every single Ivy League school except for Brown.
Plays in the Southeast.
Vanderbilt, LSU, Tulane. Tom says D1 AA. Not for basketball, Tom. Florida Atlantic, Florida International, Miami, Florida State, Georgia State, Furman. Furman a color?
Nope. I'm hoping our listeners at home have gotten a couple of these a little faster than you did here.
This is an insanely difficult question.
It's making up for the last question.
I need another hint.
major college rivalry in the Southeast? Major college football rivalry?
Auburn.
Auburn. Auburn is 2. 3, number 3 is another major college football rivalry. Think end of the season.
Navy.
And then the last one, 2 words in the institution's name. And one of the words is a sport.
2 words. Red football, baseball, golf, bowling, fencing, handball, swimming. Where are they located? Bowling Green.
Yeah, I was gonna say you said one of the sports. Yep, you said
Good
it.
work, Tom.
Bowling Green.
2 for Tom and 2 for me. But that's a really hard question.
Yeah, Tom, we got a 3K onesie coming your way, slightly used by a newborn.
Hey, whatever you can do. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate your help in the chat. So it was Bowling Green, Brown, Auburn, and
Navy,
which
kind of cheats.
Well, yeah, because some would say navy blue,
right?
Is the color, but it's good. Tom denies the. It's too late, Tom. You won the award. You're going to get it. But listen, good episode tonight. Let's hope the Sixers keep rolling. Tyrese Maxey makes us look good. But until then, let's drop that beat.